All right, it's the Krug Show on a Monday night. Kev and I are streaming together for the first time in a while. How about that? Let's go. A little Krug on Krug live stream right here, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Also, we're brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, and we are brought to you by Better. This live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Let's go right now, right here, right now. No more waiting. All right, welcome to the Krug Show. Monday nights, 8:28 West Coast, 11:28 East Coast. We're coming on after the Vikings upset the Rams 27-9. Well, I guess 27-9 was the score at one point. I'm not sure. Let's see how it finished.
It was 27-9.
27-9. 27-9 is how it finished. It was 27-9, and it was 27-9 at the end. Well, welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So go say hi to Damon and Mary, get some brisket chili. Tell them that I sent you. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. My good friend Anthony Catania is down there. He's at 831-521-5264. And as I said, this live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. We'll make a better lineup. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. And we've done it 4 or 5 times this year. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does is automatically entered into a drawing to win a free signed Ricky Pearsall jersey. And we'll announce the winner to the autographed Ricky Pearsall jersey on Super Bowl Sunday, our postgame show on Super Bowl Sunday. So after you watch Super Bowl 59, tune into the Krug Show for the postgame, and we will be giving away the signed Ricky Pearsall jersey that night.
There it is.
There it is. Looking good. And it is autographed. It is the red jersey. It is his Pearsall number 14. His number 14 jersey. All right, welcome to the Krug Show. People starting to file into the room. We got a bunch of people already in the chat, chatting away, talking about Sam Darnold. Wow, Sam Darnold, biggest night of his life. And as a pro. And where was he? What happened? Turnover City. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about it today. The biggest gimme bet of the day was Sam Darnold to throw an interception, because that's what Sam Darnold does. And the Rams defensive front is one of the most underrated defensive fronts. Don Shula's grandson is the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams. And that kid had the greatest moment of his career tonight, highest profile moment in his young career. And his defense came to play. And I'll say this right out of the chute. Man, nothing but respect for Les Snead. Les Snead is a second-generation football man. His dad worked for the Raiders, and he is now the general manager of the Rams. And, he does a great job. And they said goodbye to Aaron Donald. They ushered him into retirement. And in a very, very short amount of time, we're talking about 2 drafts. He drafted Byron Young in the 3rd round last year. He drafted Kobe Turner in the 3rd round last year. And then this year, he drafted Braden Fisk and Jared Verse in the first couple rounds this year. They added a couple other pieces to the puzzle. Bobby Brown was a 2021 4th round pick. Neville Gallimore came over from Dallas. They drafted Dawan Johnson in the 7th round. He was what's the Mr. Irrelevant of the 23 draft. Brock was Mr. Irrelevant in the 22 draft. But the Rams, they didn't even want Ernest Jones, their leading tackler from last year. They let him go. They don't believe in inside backers. They got Omar Spates as an undrafted player. And Spates has stepped in at inside linebacker and been fantastic. They picked up Emmanuel Forbes from the Commanders. They re-signed Darius Williams. They brought in Cam Curl from the Commanders. They drafted Cam Kinchins. They've been getting a whole lot of production out of guys like Quentin Lake and Akella Witherspoon and Kobe Durant and the Rams. I mean, what can you say? What can you say? Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator of the Rams, and Les Snead, the general manager, in a short amount of time, have rebuilt the Rams, and they're taking on the Eagles next week for a right to play for the the winner moves on to the NFC Championship game. Very impressive. And I will say this: I've got a friend who believes strongly that in the NFL playoffs, you just always take the better quarterback. And if you were taking the better quarterback, that meant you were going Rams tonight against Sam Darnold.
Some would argue, though. Some would argue.
What?
That Darnold was a better quarterback before tonight, I think.
What? Career? Then
no. This year, though. This year, statistically, yeah.
They won a lot of games.
I pulled
up.
He
did have 15 turnovers. He had 3 fumbles and 12 picks for the year. So it wasn't
during the game. I had the same opinion as you. I was like, geez, this young Rams defense is just showing out. So I had it ready to pull up, and I just pulled it up when you were talking. This is their last 2 drafts, the Rams' last 2 drafts. In 2024, they landed Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. They got Bo Limmer in the 6th round. Cameron Kitchens, who played today too, is a starter for them. So they have
Blake
4
Corum. Blake Corum's a pretty good back too.
Blake Corum, who wasn't playing
Brennan
today.
Jackson was a pretty good defensive end for them.
But they have 4 starters from that 2024 class that are pretty solid. Right, at least right now.
Bo Limmer's going to start too, so that's 5.
Oh, yeah, Bo Limmer did start.
6 because isn't Cardi their kicker?
I guess. I mean, I wasn't really counting him. But I mean, that's Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, 1-2. I mean, that just solidified their defensive line right there. If you look at the 23 draft, Steve Avila, who's been a good center for them.
Great destroyer of a guard.
Byron Young, linebacker from Tennessee. Kobe Turner, who you heard his name called a bunch of times today. I mean,
that's 3 for 3, man. That's 3. So they basically went 3 for 3 in 2023, and then they came back in 2024.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They had 14 draft picks in 2023. That's ridiculous. 14.
And they got Puka in the 5th round. Davis Allen, their tight end. He's there. He got him in the 5th round. They got Dawan Johnson, who was in there at the end, in the 7th round. Yeah. Right. I mean, 2 really good drafts back to back.
And it's not superstar talent. I mean, I guess you could say Puka Nacua is superstar. Jared Verse is superstar talent. But it's just solid defensive players, specifically on the D-line. And what was it? Was it 9 sacks they had today? 9 sacks against Sam Darnold. The easiest way to stop a drive, to stall out an offense, is to get a sack. And what was the Niners' most successful game? Probably it was probably the Caleb Williams games where they got a bunch of sacks and they got a bunch of production from the defensive line. The Rams came out and Don Shula's son, what's his name, Chris Shula, coached an incredible game. I mean, they showed a graphic on the screen at one point. Justin Jefferson was covered by 9 guys. He doesn't have a lockdown guy to stop Justin Jefferson, but they did it by scheme. I thought they played very well. I feel for a secondary that is not really noteworthy, I thought they played extremely well against the Vikings pass catchers. And the defensive line got home to Sam Darnold, and they forced Sam Darnold to make really tough decisions. And you saw what happens when he has to make tough decisions. He either throws a pick or he holds on the ball and gets sacked. So that was kind of the story of the game. And I really felt like the Rams just punched him in the face, and it was over. It was the first drive by the Rams. They scored a touchdown. They drove down the field. They kicked the ball back to the Vikings. There's a 3-and-out. Rams get the ball back, field goal. There's 4 minutes left in the first quarter, and it's a 2-score game. And that was pretty much the game.
It's truly amazing. This Rams team is truly amazing. I mean, if you think about it, I was watching their game. Okay, so they come out and they lose 4 out of 5 to start the year. I mean, think about that for a second. 4 out of 5. They lose to Detroit. They get destroyed 41-10 by Arizona. They beat the Niners by 3 points. That win against the Niners saved their whole season. That first one. If they had started off 0-5, nobody starts 0-5 and makes the playoffs. Instead, they started 1-4. And then they beat the Raiders. They beat this Vikings team at home. They beat Seattle in overtime. And suddenly, hey, the Rams are looking good. Then I saw them on television on that national TV game against Miami in November. And they looked awful. They looked awful. They lost 23-15. Miami's defense totally dominated that game. And the Rams, and this was at home. And at this point, they're 4-5. They just lost by 8 at home to the Dolphins. And they looked bad. They looked bad in the process. Stafford had thrown for no touchdowns in that game. They couldn't really run it. I mean, it's like, that game they had Puka Nacua, they had Cooper Kupp. It wasn't like they didn't have those guys. Those guys combined for 16 catches for almost 200 yards, and they still lost by 8 and scored 15 points at home against a Miami team that at that point was 2-6. They were 2-6, and they played the Rams in LA, and they beat the Rams by 8. So you just lost at home to go to 4-5 to a team that was 2-6 coming into the game. And at that point, I just in my mind, I just drew a line through the Rams. But they got the New England Patriots the next week, and they got an easy win, right? Then they lost in Philly. And other than that, they've been on a roll. They beat New Orleans, they beat Buffalo, they beat the Niners 12-6, they beat the Jets 19-9, they beat Arizona 13-9. Their defense has really come alive in the month of December. And then they lost in week 18 to the Seahawks 30-25. Garoppolo threw for 334 yards against them. But I mean, it's truly amazing. I mean, not only did they, a couple of these games, like the game against the Niners, Stafford only threw for 160. The next week against the Jets, he only threw for 110. So, I mean, Stafford had some games this year where he was not great. But you know what? They found a way. Puka Nacua had a huge year early in the year when Puka and Kupp were dinged up. They got good performances out of Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington and Demarcus Robinson. And, those guys stepped up early on in the year. There's no question about it. And late in the year, their defense came on. And, man, I mean, right now, nobody wants to play the Rams. Why? Because, I mean, look at the Rams right now. They're a team that can score points with probably a future Hall of Famer at quarterback. He's got really good weapons. I mean, Kyron Williams is a really good running back, and Higbee's a solid tight end. Nacua and Kupp are veteran. They've got a vertical threat in Atwell and Robinson. So they got a complimentary receiving group. They've built up their offensive line. They built up their defense. I don't think their linebackers are much, but they're getting it done. They're making guys like Akella Witherspoon play at a really high level in the secondary. I don't know what to say, but I mean, the Rams are scary because they got a defensive front that is really, really good and real. And they got a quarterback who's going to Canton, and he's got a whole group of weapons. So, I mean, they can score close to 30, and you're going to have a hard time keeping up with them if they score close to 30. So, Kev, I kind of think that the Rams, even though it's Philly and it's in Philly, and, I think the Rams are not the team you want to play right now.
No, yeah, I had a buddy text me because I told him I took full disclosure here. You're looking at two guys that had opposing wagers tonight. I had Rams +3. Larry took Vikings -3. But I'll give you the props on taking the Sam Darnold pick, or almost taking the Sam Darnold pick, because that was an absolute lock. But I had a buddy text me and said, "Why are you taking the Rams?" And it really is just because of this. The Rams are an ascending team as of late. They're kind of hot. Their defense has been getting better. And I just think that the Vikings are kind of in a down spiral. I know it's only one game, but they looked absolutely terrible against the Detroit Lions.
They're great in their place. If you can,
it's a great place to play.
If you get the Vikings at their house, they've got a great chance to beat you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The Vikings now have lost 4 times this year, including this game, but they've only lost to 2 different teams. They have 4 losses, 2 to Detroit, 2 to the Rams. So I don't know if you wanted to make some kind of assumption about what beats the Vikings. It's pressured at the quarterback. The Detroit Lions were able to pressure Sam Darnold and make him make quick decisions and confused him at the line of scrimmage. So maybe that's the formula.
I mean, I would say, first of all, they're really good in their place. They were 8-1 at home. They're 6-2 on the road, so they're good. They're a good team no matter what. I just think that, as you said, I mean, it's like take away their run game, make Sam Darnold beat you. He's a turnover machine. He turns the ball over a lot. He just does. That's what he's done in his career. He's turned it over a lot. He turned it over a lot at SC. He's turned it over a lot in the pros. I thought there was kind of an easy one today on the half a interception. You could go over or under.
What do you do?
Is throw one interception, and he threw 2.
What are you doing if you're
he threw one? He threw one.
He threw one, and he fumbled once. 2 turnovers. What do you do if you're the Vikings, though? Because you're in a really interesting position. You had Sam Darnold just play an incredible. I'm not going to undersell him. He played it in an incredible regular season. His stats are crazy good. But his last 2 games, he scored 9 points in each game. And you looked like you couldn't do anything. You were completely anemic on offense against 2 good teams. Detroit Lions, you lost 31-9, and then you just lost in the wild card round 27-9. You have a rookie quarterback. There was talk that they were going to trade him and that they had their guy in Sam Darnold. Would you keep Sam Darnold around? Would you get rid of him? I mean,
I would move off of Sam Darnold. I mean, first of all, Sam Darnold, he had 10 games this year where he took 3 sacks or more. 10.
Jesus.
That's a lot of games.
I did not know that.
If you look at he was sacked 48 times on the year. That's a lot of sacks. And then you mix in 12 interceptions and 3 fumbles or 4 fumbles, and you've got 16 turnovers. And, I don't know. Personally, the JJ McCarthy, sample size is so small. He played 1 game. Now he looked good, but it was a preseason game. So yeah, I mean, it's risky. What if if you stay with Sam Darnold, you got to trade JJ McCarthy. And if you go with JJ McCarthy, you're just going to let Sam Darnold walk in free agency. I mean, who would even sign him? Raiders, maybe? Maybe the Raiders.
Kind of, I mean, I really hate saying this. It's kind of like the Niners problem. Maybe not as extreme, but it's like you walked into Brock Purdy and then you had Trey Lance on your roster. The Vikings had Sam Darnold, didn't expect him to be what he was, and now you have a rookie quarterback who obviously wants to play. And I don't know if you saw the pictures of him. He doesn't look well. Do you see those pictures of him on the sideline? He looks like really frail. JJ McCarthy. He looks. No. I'll pull it up, but yeah, it was an interesting looking photo. I mean, maybe I was. That was.
What do you mean?
Making the rounds.
You think he's ill or something?
I don't know. I'll show you the picture, but it just looks. It looks different. Like he just looks different. I'm not really. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't really mean anything, but yeah, I don't know. I think the Vikings for my entire life, and maybe it's been different in your lifetime, Dad, but my entire lifetime, it seems like the Vikings have been this great regular season team. Like they always seem to string together a really good regular season, make the playoffs, and then just do absolutely nothing, which I think is almost just the worst. You're just getting strung along and never really doing anything in the playoffs, losing in the first round of the playoffs. That's almost more torturous if I'm a fan of the Vikings than anything else.
They've gotten close before. I mean, obviously they lost the Super Bowl with Fran Tarkenton. They got to the NFC Championship game with Randy Moss and Brian Billick, a year when they had Dante Culpepper and one of the most explosive offenses in the history of the league, only to see the Dirty Birds with Jamal Anderson beat them to go to the Super Bowl against Denver. Denver would ultimately beat Atlanta in that Super Bowl, but that was as close as they got to going to the bowl. So, Minnesota, of course, that was recently. They went to the bowl against the Steelers and lost. And they were a regular playoff team in my childhood, and you'd see them up in the snow, and it was a tough place to play. Then they built the dome, took away their home field advantage. And now it's interesting. Now they got a new dome, but it's like a great home field for them. And they have all this talent. But it's just bottom line is gotta have the quarterback. Gotta have a quarterback. And Sam Darnold played like tonight the way, all this talk about, was midnight gonna strike and is Brock Purdy gonna turn into a pumpkin? And there were so many people that kept suggesting that Brock Purdy was just gonna all of a sudden just emerge as this horrible player. Well, I kind of felt that way about Sam Darnold, like
Tonight.
Sam Darnold, we've got a huge sample size to look at Sam Darnold's career. He's played an entire career at SC. He turned the ball over a ton there, and he turned the ball over a lot early in his career. And if you catch him on the right day, like today, he turns it over in key moments. I didn't trust him. I didn't trust him. I don't trust him. Never have I been a huge Sam Darnold guy. But I do find it really comical that a year ago there were an awful lot of people who were like, Sam Darnold is over Trey Lance on the Niners depth chart. What the hell? And then literally this year, they're the same people that were like, what the hell, were like, I think the Niners ought to not sign Brock Purdy and go get Sam Darnold. And it's like, okay. So
I
now
just think, that's more of like the people that have the anything but Brock prerogative.
Yeah. The anything but Brock crowd was like super, arguing for Sam Darnold, the same guy that they were absolutely sickened at the idea that he would be over Trey Lance. And here we are, and it's like, Sam Darnold is going to be a free agent, and I don't know what kind of market he has after that game. I mean, you're only as good as your last performance, and
I was the guy pulling out the advanced stats when the Niners signed Darnold, because he had some good games in Carolina before he left. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's not great. I mean, I understand.
I don't think he's a good quarterback. A good quarterback doesn't take.
A good quarterback doesn't make a team 14-2 or 14-3, whatever they were this year.
But they've got Justin Jefferson. They have a good team. They have a good team. They have a good team, and they're well coached. I would say a
bad quarterback doesn't give a 14-win team, or doesn't make a 14-win team. Like a bad quarterback can't.
I'm just saying they had a good year. He had a good year, but I've never been a Sam Darnold guy. I don't think that he sees it. The sack that he took for, I think it was the 8th sack, where it's like he held the ball for like 6 seconds. Dude, you got to throw that away. And instead, it was like 3rd and 8. He held it for 6 seconds and then took like a 12-yard loss. And it's like, you looked over at Kevin O'Connell and he's like, what the fuck? What are you doing? It's like, it's bad enough that we have a 3rd and 8. Oh, but no, what's worse than a 3rd and 8 is you not throwing it away and us then being in a 4th and 27 or whatever it was, So it's like, that's the kind of brain fart that really we've come to know Sam Darnold for.
No, and
that's why he's not ever going to be. That's why I would never want him. I would never want him as my quarterback because of that play. Because when push comes to shove, he doesn't see the field. He doesn't feel the rush. He doesn't make the smart play. He doesn't. If you're insanely competitive, you know that if you take a sack on 3rd and 8, 14 yards behind the line of scrimmage, that you're looking at 4th and 20 something. And a really competitive player throws that ball away. And Sam Darnold didn't. So it's like, right, he took that sack. And it's
No,
like, dude,
I understand.
what are you doing?
I think he's a good quarterback, though. I understand his shortcomings. Those are his shortcomings. But I'll put him in the camp of he's a good quarterback that you can never win a Super Bowl with. You know, like he's just never going to play at the highest level. I mean, there's obviously going to be exceptions, you know, like Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, but he's it's too easy to screw him up. Like you can get to it. You can make him make mistakes. I think Troy Aikman said it best in the broadcast, or he didn't even say it. He was referencing someone else is saying, you know, in the regular season, it's about who's going to make the plays to win the games. In the postseason, it's about who's not going to make the mistakes. And I don't think you can really reasonably rely on Sam Darnold to not make the mistakes. So I don't think he's necessarily a winner, but I think he's a solid quarterback. And I think that he gets shit on more. He got shit on more for his talent or for how good he actually was when he was playing on bad teams like the Jets and Carolina. I think he's a better quarterback than we thought he was with the Jets and Carolina. This year kind of proves that, but he's not. He has some patent defects that will hinder him from being a real winner. That's my take.
Yeah. Let's hit a couple supers. James Mockastad said that Sam Brock trade take ain't aging well. Tell you one thing, Brock Purdy's eyes have never been as wide as Sam's in that one shot. Just holds the ball forever. Yeah, well, what was the take again? It was what? It was
Troy Aikman said that, I forget who he was referencing, but someone saying was like, in the regular season, it's about, you know, who can make the play. In the postseason, it's about who's not going to make the mistake. He makes the mistake.
But is that what James Mockastad's talking about? No. What's Sam Brock trade take? Well, I mean, does it mean to
that was Brian Baldinger went on 95.7 The Game and said that he would flip Sam Darnold for Brock Purdy right now.
Oh, yeah. No fucking way. I mean, no fucking way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I love Baldy, but that's fucking nuts. I'm old. Greg says, I read an article today on the Guinness Book. In October, Larry set the record for tallest man laying on his back. Next day, Damon broke it, awoken from dreams of Victoria Silverstedt, Playmate of the Year. Greg, get off the grass.
I was like, did you understand that?
I'm like, Greg just twisted up a J, smoked it, thought he came up with a funny joke, typed it out, threw $9.99 behind it, and then just realized, he's like, dude.
In October, Larry set the record for the tallest man laying on his back. Is that a saying?
I don't know. I'm old Greg it should say I'm high and old Greg, because that's super high. I mean, that's crazy high. But Greg, we love you anyway, brother.
Do it again. We'll do
I ain't mad at you. I mean, I think you're high as a kite, but I ain't mad at you. All right. What do you want to get into? What do you want to talk about?
Let me pull up the bracket, the remaining bracket, NFL playoff bracket, because I want to just take a look at.
Steve Onosis, smash the likes, everyone. Larry, what are the best bets for next round of the playoffs? We can get into that. I had a really good week betting, college and pro. I mean, I've been really rolling lately. I didn't have this one tonight, but outside of this one, and I lost on Chargers Texans, but I won on Ravens Steelers, won on Bills Broncos, won on Eagles Packers, won on Commanders Bucks, won on the college semis, won on most of the college bowl games. So it's been a good week or a good month.
Can you see this?
What do you got?
This is the bracket. I don't have it
Okay.
filled in for the last game, but the Rams will be taking on the Eagles. So this is the divisional round bracket.
So you got a 6,
Lions,
a 1,
yeah.
a 4, a 1, a 3, a 2, a 4, and a 2. So
4
the
and a 1.
Commanders are the lowest remaining seed, as a 6 seed.
They were the only upset in terms of seeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
Commanders were an upset versus the Bucks in terms of spread, but
so okay, so that's the bracket. Let's take a look at the numbers. So this Saturday, it's Texans at Arrowhead, and the Texans are getting 7.5.
7.5. Wow.
What do you think of that?
See, that's a tough one because
It's going to be 27 degrees, by the way, at Arrowhead.
You love the Chiefs to win the game, but 7 in the hook. I don't know if that's. I mean, do they cover? That's the question. I love the Chiefs to win the game. I don't know. I could see a world where I'm like taking the Texans plus 8.5 if that line moves.
Chiefs are 8-0 at home. The Texans are only 5-4 on the road. So, though I'll say this, and I talked about this on KMBR earlier tonight. The Texans have Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, and they have Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter. So, I mean, how many teams have 2 really awesome edge rushers and 2 shutdown number 1 type corners? If the Chiefs win this game, they'll win it running it, and they'll win it with Mahomes throwing to Kelsey. But if they have to win it on the strength of Mahomes throwing to his receivers against these 2 outside corners, it's going to be a tough day because the Texans corners are really playing at a high level. So expect this game to be a little tighter than you think. I think the Chiefs probably cover, but I don't love it.
Well, the question is, are we gonna see all dominant, Patrick Mahomes, or are we gonna see more of this kind of stuttering to the finish line, kind of offense with a really dominant defense? Because that's what we saw from the Chiefs all year. I know their record is amazing, but we saw a lot of ugly games from the Chiefs. Their offense, they're going to score, but I think it might be low scoring, and that's why I kind of like Texans in the points. If you're giving me that many points.
The low over-under is 41.5.
There you go.
They're expecting a very low-scoring game. So, yeah, I don't have a vibe on that one. I really don't. I mean, I kind of, in a super low-scoring game, I would probably say take the Texans and the points. That's kind of my vibe on that. I like Kansas City, but it's hard to go for the 3-peat. It's really, and they've been in there, 15-2. They haven't lost at home all year. They're closing in on 3 titles in a row. I mean, they should be motivated.
I think this is the year that they don't get it done. Personally, I agree. I think this is the year that they lose to the Bills.
Or lose on the way to the Bills. Yeah, and they could lose this game. The Texans are young and fiery. I'll say this: if the Chiefs give the Texans life, the Texans will win. If the Chiefs snuff them out, and it's not going to be one of these, nail biter, and the Chiefs come from behind and they win by a close margin. No, they're either going to roll them and win big, or the Texans are going to win the game.
What scares me the most about the Texans is Stroud. I think that there's a world where Spags just completely, dials in and just overwhelms Stroud, and Stroud can't get away from the pressure. He's making bad throws, and it just is like, it's just like mayhem on the offensive side. That's my biggest worry.
Yeah, I kind of on those Saturday games, I'm kind of thinking about maybe teasing.
What's the other
And
Saturday game?
well, the other game is Lions Commanders. I'm kind of thinking about giving the Texans the extra points and giving the Commanders the extra points.
So what's the Lions Commander spread?
It's Detroit minus 8.5
Oof.
at home, where they're 7-2. Commanders are 5-3 on the road. But the Commanders are just they're I think the Commanders' passing attack can make plays against the Lions' pass defense.
Yeah,
I would feel better if the Commanders showed some ability to run, but the fact that they can't really run that well.
Yeah. No, you're actually 100% right.
I think Detroit's going to win.
Yeah, I don't know about the points there. I think Detroit's going to win for sure. I'm not sure about the points. My takeaway from that Bucks Commanders game was, the Commanders have a really good offense in some aspects where they can just drive down the field, but they can't execute in, short yardage, and they can't really score in the red zone as efficiently as you'd want them to. They got stood up on the goal line like fourth and wasn't it? It was 4 downs on the one, and they couldn't score against the Bucks, who are a good defense, but nothing special. So I don't know how they're going to fare against this Lions team. I do like the passing attack with Jaden Daniels.
He's just so young that he
Warren.
doesn't know that
Right.
he doesn't even know what he doesn't know.
And this
So
is
like he's so young.
Yeah.
The pressure he may be totally oblivious to the pressure.
We saw 2 weeks of the Lions defense looking like an absolute sieve, and just absolutely, just it made me think. I'm like, oh, I said earlier in the year, I'm like, oh yeah, they're winning the Super Bowl this year. It made me rethink my whole take on that because of how bad their defense was. In the last couple of weeks, it seems like they've healed themselves, and I'm not sure if they've actually physically healed from injuries or if they've just figured out a way to compensate. But their defense has kind of returned to normal. It seems that's what I've seen.
Well, I mean, they beat up Minnesota 31-9. The Niners, though, put up 34 on them in Week 17, and the Niners had not been scoring anything for points. So.
They dominated against
Buffalo Buffalo beat them and put up 48 on them in the middle of December. So, I don't know. I'm not really sure about the Lions defense. I think it's starting to get tired at this point. But that's a really interesting game. The Commanders against the Lions. I think it's going to be really interesting. So that's Saturday. Then Sunday, it's Rams at the Eagles. Eagles -6. And the over-under is 43.5. Eagles are 8-1 at home. Rams are 5-3 on the road. And then it's the game of the weekend, Ravens-Bills in Buffalo. Buffalo's undefeated at home. They're 8-0 at home. And yet they are underdogs. The Ravens are a 1-point favorite over Buffalo in Buffalo. How do you figure that? It's supposedly going to be 18 degrees.
The issue is the run game with Buffalo. I don't think that the Broncos had a good enough run game to really do anything on offense against the Bills, and that's why the Bills were able to dominate them. The thing that scares me, and I think Buffalo, I would probably lean towards Buffalo, but I'm withholding my pick because I really don't know how I'm gonna end up on this game. My biggest thing is, can you stop Derrick Henry in the run game? And you were talking about this weekend too. It's the playoffs and just the offense in the NFL recently has become can you run the ball effectively? Can you score? Can you go 3rd and 3 and say, yes, that's a first down? Can you get 4 or 5 yards on first down? That it sets up the drive. It makes the offense flow. And I just think the Ravens are doing that so well right now with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson that would scare me if I was Buffalo.
It is interesting. If you went by the best quarterback will win, Mahomes beats Stroud. Daniels beats Goff.
Yeah.
Stafford beats Hurts. And Allen beats Jackson.
You take Stafford over Hurts?
Stafford is a better quarterback than Hurts.
But you take Allen over Lamar.
Yeah, I think Allen's better than Lamar.
See, I mean, that's the thing though.
Especially it's the playoffs. I mean,
those two guys
Lamar
are
doesn't really do it in the playoffs.
They're like dead tied for the MVP right now.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think's better? I mean, let's just say this. I don't know how you'd evaluate this, but let's just say both of those guys, were in an NFL draft type situation right now. I think Josh Allen goes before Lamar. And I think most people do.
I would take Josh Allen
over Lamar.
Yeah. This season, I think he's done more with less. I mean, I've watched it. I've watched every single one of his games. I mean, we talk about how, people set up unfair expectations on Brock Purdy because he hasn't been able to carry them despite all of their injuries and offensive woes, whatever. Josh Allen really can carry. He can be the guy that says, get on my shoulders. Let's go score a touchdown. He can do that because he can pass the ball like anybody else, and he can run the ball like anybody else. And in short yardage, you want him getting the ball. You don't want James Cook getting the ball. You want Josh Allen getting the ball. He's a do-it-all kind of like superstar, Superman character for Buffalo. I think he's special. The way that he's played this year is just special.
No doubt. So, I mean, I'll say this. I don't feel great about any of the games next week. I think I would probably lean towards Buffalo the most, getting one at home. I think this is Buffalo's year. I think the Ravens look great against a lame team like the Steelers, who are bad. And when you put them in Baltimore, but then you put them in Buffalo against a good Bills team, I don't know. I like Buffalo. I think Buffalo, that's the game that I feel the best about next week. And the other games, like I think Rams, I like the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, but the more I think about that game, the more I think the Rams can beat the Eagles. And I like the Lions too, but I think the Commanders could beat the Lions. And I think the Texans have the ability to beat the Chiefs. I don't think this is a vintage Chiefs team. So I probably would, lean with most people are going to lean with the home teams in the division round. The only one I feel good about is Buffalo.
That's
everybody
crazy.
Else. What's that?
That's crazy. You mean on the spread, or you mean just to win? Because that's crazy. That's like the closest game, and they're underdogs.
No, I know, but I like the Eagles are, Stafford is what the Rams have going right now is really special. I don't think there's any question about that. If you look at the Rams' schedule, as I said, they were looking really bad, right? On November the 11th. Okay, since that point, win, then one loss to Philly, then win. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've won 6 of 8 to finish the year. They lost in week 18 to Seattle. And they lost to Philadelphia, but they beat New Orleans, Buffalo, the Niners, the Jets, the Cardinals along the way. And now they just beat the Vikings, who are a good football team. So I think the Rams are dangerous. The Rams are dangerous. And the Rams are going to be able to score points. I'm really confident the Rams are going to be able to score points. I don't know if the Rams defense will be able to bother Hurts in that offense, but the Rams are going to be able to score points. It's not going to be one of these low-scoring games where the Rams can't score at all. The Rams are going to score. So I give the Rams a definite shot to beat the Eagles. This Commanders team's got a lot of magic. It probably runs out here, and Detroit probably beats them. But those 8.5 points, I don't know about that. I don't feel good about that at all.
Yeah,
and then the Chiefs. I mean, I like the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are not. I don't think it's their year. And when you don't think it's a team's year, then you're always like, okay, how are they going to get beat? And I don't think it's their year. So I think it's Buffalo's year. So I kind of think I think either Chiefs go down to the Texans and the Buffalo beats the Texans, or the Chiefs beat the Texans and Buffalo beats them next week. But I definitely think the Chiefs go down. So yeah, I don't feel good about Chiefs Texans. I feel like the Commanders Lions is very much a coin flip. I feel like Rams Eagles is very, very difficult to call. But I think Buffalo's better than Baltimore, especially if you get the Ravens on the road. Ravens on the road are not as good.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it's like the seeding really matters. Where if you're Baltimore, you're like, damn, I wish I was a 2 seed right now, because it's just this game. It would be a completely different game if that game was in Baltimore versus
that game's in Baltimore.
Buffalo.
I like Baltimore.
I just think with the Chiefs, it's like it's almost inevitable that it's going to be one of these endings where it's Mahomes driving down the field, kicks a field goal, game over, kind of a moment. Ugly game. It's like 17-15 Chiefs win, and then they move on. I don't want to be chalky, but I think Chiefs win. I think Lions win. I'd take the Eagles and I'd take the Bills. So I go 1-2, 1-2.
You're going to take the favorites in the Saturday games, and you take the. I
guess Buffalo's an underdog. I take Buffalo in the Eagles.
Oh, so you like the favorites?
Well, Buffalo's technically an underdog.
Or you like the home teams? You like the home teams basically the whole weekend.
Yeah, because I mean, I think the only real toss up here, in terms of spread at least, is that Ravens Buffalo game. I already told you I like Buffalo. I don't think they're. I mean, I know I just talked up the Rams and their defensive line and said they're an ascending team, but the Eagles' offensive line put on a clinic on Saturday. If you watch that against the Packers, and Jalen Hurts with the offensive line, I don't know if the Rams can do it. I think it's very possible. I feel more confident in the Rams upsetting the Eagles than I did if you asked me before this game about the Vikings upsetting the Eagles. But I think the Eagles will figure out a way to win it.
Yeah, it will probably be the home teams, but it'll probably be the home teams all weekend. But I definitely give Rams Commanders definite shots to win. I'm thinking Texans more of a cover than a win, but yeah, that's how I see it. As far as the common denominator though of this opening weekend, to me, the thing that really stood out, there were two things that stood out. One, just how well the teams ran the ball outside of the Commanders. They really did run the ball. I mean, and how much they committed to running it. I mean, my God, the Eagles, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Texans averaged like 39 rush attempts in those games. Like Shanahan's always talking about, hey, if we can get to 30 rush attempts, the Eagles ran it 50 times. The Bills ran it like 44 times. So, it's just, you look at some of these teams. I mean, to me, the Niners have to build a big physical offensive line around Brock Purdy, and they need to get another back besides Christian McCaffrey, besides Mason, besides the guys that they have. And they got to run the ball in the low red zone. And they got to run the ball in short yardage. And they got to run the ball when everybody knows they're going to run the ball. The 49ers are a team that can only surprise people. If you think they're going to pass, and then then they can run. But if you think they're going to pass, if you're playing them to pass, they can't pass. If you're playing them to run, they can't run. It's like they can't do what they want to do. If they have to have that element of surprise. That's why the 49ers are such the ultimate. They're so much better when they lead, because when they lead, you don't know what's coming. Could be a run, could be a pass, and it throws off the defense's understanding of, they're off of the Shanahan scent. But when he falls behind and he just abandons the run, and all of a sudden it's 16 straight pass plays, you're cooked. You're cooked. So to me, the 49ers, they have a Pro Bowl fullback, but they can't run. They can't run inside the 5-yard line. They can't get a first down when they only need a yard. They're not good in short yardage. They're not good in the red zone. They're not good on the goal line. So it's like, that to me is the big problem with the 49ers. They need to get rid of Jake Brendel, get rid of Aaron Banks, and go get themselves a road grading interior and go invest in your offensive line. And then in this awesome running back draft, pick a couple running backs, pick a couple more running backs, get rid of Juice. I'm sorry, your fullback that can't run a yard has to go. It's reprehensible that you have a fullback. You're one of like 5 teams in all of pro football that even carries a fullback. And you have a Pro Bowl fullback. I mean, any other year, you show me any year of pro football where a team has a Pro Bowl fullback, and almost by definition, they're good on the goal line. They're good in short yardage. They can run it in the low red zone. There's almost no such thing as, oh yeah, we've got a Pro Bowl fullback and we can't run in short yardage. But the Niners are proving that those things, 2 things can be equally true. You can have a Pro Bowl fullback and you can not be able to run it. So they need to move off of Juice for a bigger, more stout, more powerful, a guy who can actually move somebody at the point of attack in the run game. That's number one. They need to get rid of Brendel and get themselves a road grading center who has a lot more strength at the point of attack and start pushing, blowing people off the goddamn ball and start running the ball in the low red zone. I mean, literally week 16 or 17, Shanahan passed the ball on 2nd and goal from the 4, passed the ball on 3rd and goal from the 4, and then kicked a field goal. I mean, that's an embarrassing sequence. One, you're out of the race altogether, so why are you kicking field goals? You're already mathematically eliminated. I mean, my God, if you can't go for it when there's no pressure, you're never going to be able to go for it when there is pressure. So that's first and foremost. But secondly, it's like, if you're the 49ers, you got to show that you can run the football. You have to be able to run the football. I mean, you're not going to be able to fool everybody all the time and take everybody by surprise all the time. There's something to be said for, hey, you know what? They're going to do this and we can't even stop it. And that's where the Niners need to get with their run game. They need to be able to be like, hey, we're going to run it and you're not going to be able to stop it. And that's where Baltimore is. You know who the all-pro fullback is? It's Patrick Ricard. He's a 300-pound converted offensive lineman. That is your all-pro fullback. So if you're going to have a fullback and have one less 4-3 burner on the perimeter and not go with 11 personnel and, put the fullback on the field and lots of 21 and 22 personnel and using the fullback, that's fine. That's fine. But you better be able to move people in short yardage. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're going to take away big play ability and you're not going to replace it with the ability to have continuity and stay on the field. I mean, the 49ers could not keep drives alive because they couldn't convert 3rd downs and they couldn't run the ball in the low red zone. They didn't even try at the end of the year.
Yeah. Kyle Juszczyk is kind of like a finesse fullback at this point, and I don't really see the purpose in having a finesse fullback. I'm not necessarily saying that he's a bad football player. It's just at this point, like you said, what is the most when you think about football, when you think about offense, when you think about running the football, you think of certain teams that are able to get what they want. I think of the Eagles. You said the Ravens. They're able to get a yard when they need to get a yard. Just having the ability to get a yard when you need to get a yard it's so important. It can be the difference in winning and losing games all the time.
It puts tons of pressure on the defense when they know that every run play is going to go for 3 yards. I mean,
and the Niners have no power.
4th and 1, 4th and 2, the other team's got a first down.
The problem is that the Niners have no power. They have no power on their offensive line. They have no power from their fullback. They have power in JP Mason. CMC is a hell of an athlete, so he can give you some power. But I would want someone that is giving me power on the inside. Jake Brendel's a little undersized. He's not very good. And Aaron Banks is dealing with the chronic knee problems at this point. He's always concussions and whatever. Go get someone who is I think you'd mentioned Kevin Zeitler. Get someone who is just a proven bulldozer and run the ball down people's throats, because that is what, at this point, that's what's dominant in the NFL. Being able to score when you need to score, being able to get a yard when you need to get a yard. Do that, and I guarantee you your offense gets better.
Yeah, you have to be able to run the ball and possess the ball. I mean, that if there's one theme from this weekend is the team that possessed the ball by the majority of the time won all weekend long. Who won time of possession tonight? Let's see. This game was kind of funky because the Rams got out to such an early lead, and they also got a defensive score.
Vikings had 32 minutes to the Rams 27 minutes.
Yeah, so that was misleading. That was misleading. And the Rams were not good on third down. They were 2 for 10 on third down.
Well,
but it just
there was
the Vikings had 71 plays to only 51 for the Rams, but the Rams had 292 yards to 269 for the
Wasn't there a pick six or a fumble recovery for a touch? It was a fumble for a touchdown.
Six, yeah.
So it's like you're scoring and then giving the ball right back to them. So
right.
So that kind of full story. Yeah.
But the Rams had 10 penalties for 95 yards and still won. Why? Because turnovers are everything. And the Vikings had 2 turnovers and the Rams had none. So there you go. And so it's just, you turn the ball over, you lose for the most part. And the Vikings, ran the ball well, 4.8 a carry, and they still wind up losing the game. But generally the teams that ran it the best won this weekend. And the 49ers, if you're really going to build around Brock, then you have to build a big, physical, powerful line around him. I mean, I don't know. When I'm watching the Niners, when I'm watching any team play the Eagles, they're playing a totally different game than the Niners are playing. Totally different game. The Niners get to 3rd and 4, and they're thinking quick pass. And the Eagles are thinking, let's run it, see if we can get 3 yards so we can then go tush push on 4th and 1. And it's a totally different game. I mean, that's a different game with different strategy. And I think if the Niners really did their deep dive on the analytics, I think more and more teams are going to go for it more and more often on 4th downs. Especially, on the positive side of the field.
Or you're going to see more like 3rd and 5, let's sneak it for 3, and then let's sneak it again. We've seen that.
I mean, that's the other thing, too. It's like, I mean, think about it this way. When the Niners have lined up to run sometimes, they can't get a yard. And then sometimes they'll line up and Purdy will quarterback sneak it, and he'll get like 3.5 yards on the quarterback sneak. But if he turns around and hands it to the running back gets stoned in the hole.
Yeah, dances around.
I mean, the Niners don't have a big power back. McCaffrey's more of a speed jack of all trades, gadget guy.
Kind of was Mason.
Catch the ball. Mason is not a big back. Forget the size. He doesn't play like a big back. He dances at the line. He if there's any back that he reminds me of, it's Le'Veon Bell. He's not a hit the hole fast guy. He's a run upright, dance at the line, trying to bounce it outside. He's a big back with small back traits. And Garendo has got enough power to take it up in there, but he fumbles upon contact and he has terrible vision and he's super raw. They need a power back. They need a back who's like 5'8", 5'9", 215, 220 pounds. The guy that I love is the Rutgers back, Kyle Monangai. He's just one of the greatest contact balance backs I've ever seen. I mean, this guy absolutely, will not go down in first contact. He will spin, he will twist, he will turn, he will get another yard or two. So go get it's an awesome running back draft. And there's going to be really good backs with lots of talent, even undrafted. Go get a couple of backs and invest in a big, burly, strong center and a Zeitler type guard. And just start pounding people. Start running the ball a lot. Run the ball a lot. Ask Brock Purdy to throw it less. If you ask Brock Purdy just to make, a half dozen throws in each half of the game and just get by on just this strong running game and defense, I think that's how you win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. Don't have him throw it 41 times. Stop having him run all over the place. Run the ball effectively and have him make some throws on third downs. And between Ricky Pearsall's ability to run these little timing routes underneath and Brock's ability to be locked in with Ricky and hit him on the hands, I think that's going to be a very unstoppable passing combo. And then you run the ball. You have Kittle, you have Pearsall, you have JJ. You got 3 continuity pieces. Now, what do the Niners need on offense? They need to rebuild their line. They need a couple big a big back or two. They need another good. They need really at least one more good receiving tight end. They need all those things, and they need speed at wide receiver. Speed at wide receiver. A couple good receiving tight ends behind Kittle. Another running back with some power, and some offensive linemen, tackle, guard, center. And that's what they need on offense. But their biggest problem on offense is not Brock Purdy. Their biggest problem on offense is Jake Brendel and their inability to run in the low red zone. That's their biggest problem. If they could run the ball in the red zone, man, I really think Brock Purdy's good enough to win with.
Do you want to do our better lineup?
Yeah, let's do our better lineup. We are brought to you. This live stream, we should tell people, is brought to you by Better. That's right. The live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get that first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does automatically is entered into a drawing to win a free signed Ricky Pearsall jersey, which we will give away on Super Bowl Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday. We will be giving away the Ricky Pearsall jersey. Okay, there we go.
It's looking a little weird right now. I'm not sure why.
What's that?
I guess we can go like this. What game do you want to do? Because we got 3 games. They don't have the final game out right now, but we can do Houston, KC, Washington, Detroit, Buffalo, Baltimore.
Let's go Washington, Detroit. Let's go Daniels. Take a look at Daniels. Jaden Daniels. Okay, 234 passing yards, 53.5 rushing yards.
295.5 passing plus rushing, 22.5 completions, 34.5 passing attempts. You could go over on 1.5 interceptions. You could go 35.5 longest pass, 15.5 longest rush.
What do you think? I kind of like pass attempts. To me, it seems like he's going to be throwing it a lot. The Lions can score points. The Commanders struggle to run it. I think he's going to be passing it whether they're ahead or behind.
34.5. Yeah, I like that. I like the pass attempts.
All right, let's go more than 34.5 pass attempts for Jaden Daniels.
I want to look at the Baltimore Buffalo game. I want to look at where is Josh Allen? Okay, Josh Allen. I'm trying to see here. What do I like here? You could go Josh Allen rushing touchdown. One rushing touchdown. I think you don't like that.
Well, it's not crazy, but
44.5 rushing yards, 236 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns.
I like 2 passing touchdowns.
Okay, I like that too.
Let's go 2 passing touchdowns on him.
Do you want to look at Lamar or?
Yeah, let's see Lamar. 224 and a half passing yards. I'd go under.
Really?
Less.
Go less.
Less than 224.
Should we get one from Houston KC just so we get all of them?
Who do you like in the Houston KC?
This is tough. I'm not really up to date on their
We'll see Kelsey because I think it's a big Kelsey game.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Big Kelsey game because they got great corners.
50 and a half receiving yards. Over.
Way up. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
All right, I'll put it in. It's 10 to win 100. Place it.
10-1.
We almost won our entry tonight. It was a Justin Jefferson touchdown away. So this is it. Four players. You got Jaden Daniels over 34 and a half passing attempts. Josh Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Lamar Jackson under 224 and a half passing yards. And then Travis Kelce over 50 and a half receiving yards, 10 to win 100. There you go.
And thanks to Better for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. And once again, everybody who signs up is automatically in the drawing to win the Ricky Pearsall autographed jersey. All right, let's read a couple more of these supers, and then we'll bolt for the door. We've got Heated Heavy 559. It says, Kruger, love you, man. But how the hell do you have time for all these streams? It's awesome. That is awesome.
His other job is pissed at him.
Yeah, seriously. I'm the Maytag repairman, and that's the only reason I can do this is because I have no Maytags to ever fix because they work so well. No, but yeah, this is what I do. I don't know what to say about it. I'm sorry that I'm on all the time. This is what I do.
Well, the other thing is the way that this career works is you want to be on when other people can watch, which is usually not when they're working. So it's you're kind of working the reverse shift of people's, working hours sometimes.
Right. I went to the gym today. I lifted weights, hit the steam, had a nice little workout, but that was during work hours. But now it's nighttime, you guys are all at home and I'm also at home. I don't know what else to say to that, but Heated Heavy 559. Thanks for watching the Krug Show. Claw Daddy Arcades LK taking sponsors. Taking sponsors the LK show for 2025-2026 season. Well,
yes.
Claw Daddy, the short answer, I guess, is yes, right? We're always looking for sponsors. The one thing you don't hear us talking about a lot on the show is we don't talk a lot about, hey, if you want to sponsor, I just don't want to beat you guys over the head with any of that. But, we're really happy with the sponsors that we do have, which are, Pig in a Pickle, Mancini's, BetUS, Better, Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, and we got a couple others as well. But we're really happy with the sponsors we do have. But we're always willing to talk to people who would like to sponsor on the show. And all I would say, Claw Daddy, is just get a hold of me. You can DM me on Twitter. You could probably hit me up on LinkedIn, Facebook, probably a bunch of different ways you can hit me. You can hit me in some of these chats. We can, if you want, you just give me a way I can get a hold of you. And I will give you a call. We'll set up a conference call between me, you, and Kev, and we'll just find out what your business is and if we can benefit you and if you can benefit us. And that's generally how it works. So, Kev, do you have anything you want to add to Claude?
You can also contact me. I think my email is in the channel description. And you can also, my DMs are open on Twitter. So
there you go. And I'll say this. We are looking for a sponsor for our March spring training trip. We're going to go to Arizona in March. And do a lot of videos on the draft, on the Giants, on the Niners, on a lot, from Arizona, play some golf, go to some Cactus League games and take the channel on the road, do maybe a meet and greet down in Arizona. We're trying to just figure out where, but we're just trying to coordinate that right now. So we are looking for a couple sponsors in the month of March for our spring training trip. So if you'd like to be a sponsor, if anybody would like to be a sponsor, just get a hold of us, as I said, and we'll reach back out to you. And we do this, like, I would say, like once or twice a week. Somebody reaches out and they'd like to sponsor, and we kind of go through how it works and what we give you and how it works on your end and so on and so forth. We'll say this. It's been the sponsors that we've had, as you can tell, have been with us pretty consistently. When you have 53,000 subs and really good audience like we do, the sponsors benefit for sure. So anyway, I've gotten nothing but great responses from our sponsors, and that's generally how it's done. So if you Claudette, if you need to get a hold of Kev, he'd probably be the guy to talk to, and then we can figure it out. G Code Travels Vlog POV says, does Golden State lose to the Raptors give a sense of panic for Dunleavy to make a splash trade ASAP, considering they are now under 500, or wait until the deadline? I think the Warriors are screwed. Murph asked me on opening night on KMBR's morning show. He said, hey, Krug, how many wins for the Warriors? I said 38. He's like, 38? Oh, man. Oh, ooh. Then they got off to this 12-3 start. Now they're 19-20. They're sub 500. And they lost tonight. And Curry's like, there's no deal out there that can make us a winner. And Green saying the same thing, and Kerr saying the same thing. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. Maybe it's time for Kerr to step down. Maybe it's time for the Warriors to trade Steph Curry. Maybe it's time to break up Steph and Draymond. I mean, if they really do feel like they're done, then end it. Move Steph to the Knicks or some other team, get some picks, and rebuild. If you love Steph Curry, then set him free. If you love Steph Curry that much, and you're just titillated by his global impact and all this bullshit that you've been saying for the last 10 years, then prove it. Let him, if you care that much about him, then let him walk. He can't win any more titles for you. He knows it. Kerr knows it. Green knows it. So, yes, right now they're just spinning their wheels, circling the drain. It's a terrible mix. Everybody on the entire team should be dealt except for Kuminga. And that's the guy that they're talking about maybe trading. It's like, do not trade Kuminga, you fucking morons. Keep Kuminga and trade everybody else. So, yeah, no, I would say they would need to do a deal soon if they were going anywhere, but they're not going. And there's no deal for them to make. They should sell off of Draymond Green. They should sell off on Steph Curry. They should try to turn that into, call Sam Presti. He's got 9,000 picks. See if he'll give you 2,000 picks for Steph, and move him on. Move him on. If you care about Steph, that's what you'll do. That's my thought. What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I think Steph and Dre are right. I don't think this team is one player away. I think this team is kind of cooked. I don't know what they want to do, because what does Steph want? I think the Warriors kind of owe it to Steph. I mean, I know you said don't trade Kuminga, this, that, and the other, whatever. I think that if anything, the Warriors owe Steph something. If Steph says, hey, I want to get one more shot at this next year, go trade for a player, go sign a player. No.
If you want to win, that means you want out. If you want to win, you got to leave, because you're not winning here. So that's what I'd say to him. If you want to win a championship, let's do that. And if you want to stay. But you're not going to stay and win a championship. That's clear. So let's either move you somewhere you can win a championship and get some pieces, or just what? I mean, he's probably got 3 years left. You're going to sit there for the next 3 years, sitting there paralyzed.
I don't know. There's something special about Dre and Steph, where it's like, yeah, they might be a few pieces away. Maybe not one piece, but look at that. Look at the 22 squad. That 22 squad was not some, there wasn't around Steph and Dre. There wasn't some, insane cast of players that, lifted them to that ring. If Steph and Dre really do have, I know.
I mean, Steph was younger.
I mean, but who was around them? It was Jordan Poole. Otto Porter, Gary Payton II. I mean, it's just they're just guys.
Yeah. No, I mean they should consider themselves, that is the one that they didn't envision that they got, and it's funny because everybody's so spoiled. Everybody's like, well, they need one more. It's like, dude, be satisfied with what you got. I mean, seriously, be satisfied with what you got. That's you won 4 rings. All right. You got 4 rings. This and then, it's Wiggins just so badly needs to move on. Yeah. And it's like the Warriors are just so frustrating. It's like they want to move Wiggins all last year. They couldn't move him because he looked terrible and he wasn't showing up for work. Okay. So they couldn't trade him and they brought him back this year. Now he's playing well enough to trade, but now they don't want to trade him. Because now it's like, oh, we can't trade Wiggins. Are you kidding me? Wiggins is playing well. It's like, you tried to trade him all last year, but you couldn't trade him because he had no value. Now he's rebuilt his value and you're falling for it. And now it's like, oh, now we need to keep him. It's like, no. This guy badly needs a change of scenery. He needed one last year. You couldn't get it for him. He's now played well enough where he's actually tradable. And now you guys don't want to trade him? I mean, I think this thing went south as soon as Joe was like, I don't need Jerry West anymore. I've got my kids. Yeah. All right. Alan Smiley-Geach to your kids. That's what I would say to your kids. G-Code Travels Vlog.
You just read that one.
Okay. Titus Moeller says, I'm afraid no one will stop Kansas City. Do you think anyone will?
Bills.
Yeah. Maybe Texans. Maybe Texans this week. Definitely Bills in 2 weeks.
Definitely
maybe Lions in 4 weeks.
It wasn't going to be the Chargers, so I don't know.
It wasn't going to be the Chargers. Ben Affleck's double chin. Great handle. Larry, what's with Minnie and over-the-hill cast-off quarterbacks having good single seasons? Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, Brad Johnson, Brett Favre, Case Keenum, now Darnold. Is there something in the water? That's a great question. It really is true. If you look at Minnesota, they've had individual awesome years with some of these guys. There's probably even more than he even named. There's probably a few more than that. Rick James, you guys are superstars. Woo. We'll get it next season. Let's get it.
That's James. The kind of positivity that I want in the chat.
That's what
Everyone needs to be like Rick James.
Rick James. DeBig 25. Rams showing what drafting well and hiring good coordinators and letting them do their own thing looks like. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Les Snead, come on down. DeBig says Daniel Jones can't wait for his shot next season.
He's on the Vikings. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I know. I saw him there at the
fourth. He's like not even really dressed though. He's just there.
I don't know about you, but when I look at Daniel Jones, there's his face has like a permafog. Like he doesn't. I feel like I'm not looking at somebody who's thinking. He seems very kind of.
I feel like I'm looking at someone who's not thinking.
He just doesn't. There's something about him that just is not. It's just not right. I don't know what it is.
My favorite part of this NFL season, honestly, one of my favorite parts of the NFL season was when it was like all these headlines were going on, and then there was just this constant nagging headline about Daniel Jones might make his decision on Tuesday. It's like, oh, Daniel Jones, and like people, I even posted the meme. It's like the decision, like it's like LeBron's like the decision, but it's for Daniel Jones. Like that was one of my favorite moments.
That's all because of New York.
Yeah.
He played for the Vikings, the Patriots, anyway.
It's like Schefter's like tweeting out, Daniel Jones is expected to make his decision on his next. It's like, who cares? This guy sucks. He's going to be the third string. Why are we talking about this? Like, why is this headline news? This guy sucks.
Right. This guy is a freaking turnover machine. Yeah. I mean, he's just total garbage. Blood Moon says trade Debo in a second for Garrett Wilson. Fuck it. #speed. Dude, done. You want me to make that deal tomorrow? I'll make that deal tomorrow. I'll even throw in another pick. Debo a second, and I'll give you something else as well for Garrett Wilson. Do that in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me? run to do that. Rick James, should we now invest fully into drafting O-line since the division is buffing their defense in recent drafts? I mean, forget what the other teams in your division are doing. Your center is Jake Brendel. Okay, Jake Brendel. Chris Forster loves him, but everybody else doesn't seem to, including PFF. So you need a new center. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, and you really need to draft a center, a guard, and a tackle. I'm one of those guys that I don't like very many offensive linemen, but offensive tackle wise, I do love Anthony Belton from NC State. One of my favorite offensive linemen in this draft. Check him out. 3rd round out of NC State. Big 6'6", 335-pounder. Love him. Love Marcus Ware, the center out of Montana State. Love him. Brawler. And I love Tyler Booker, the Alabama guard. Just one of the most dominating, powerful point of the attack run blockers I've seen in the draft in the last 5 or 10 years. So yes, invest fully into the O-line. And they did a nice job last year with Dom Pooney. Dom Pooney, I think there was here, let me see. I have it in front of me. I think there was 29. Let me look it up. A high number of guys were drafted, offensive linemen were drafted ahead of Dom Pooney. And yet Pooney, if you did a redraft, would be the number 1 offensive lineman drafted. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, here it is. There were 25 offensive linemen on draft day drafted before Dom Pooney. And what did he do? He started all 17 games. He led the Niners in snaps played. He was fantastic. 25 O-linemen drafted before Dom Pooney. So that's
how
pretty
many how many guards though?
I don't know.
I remember we did that stream together after he was drafted, and the idea, at least from the scouting reports, from even Brugler, everyone, they had him as a tackle. And I remember you and me kind of talking about him and being like, I don't know if this guy's going to be a good tackle. And I remember I was kind of lower on him. I'm just like, I'm not sure this guy's going to be a good tackle. He's done a great tackle, but if he's going to be a guard, he could be a great player. And that's exactly what it was. He ended up becoming a guard, and the rest is history.
He's a terrific player. And when I talked to him in the locker room early in the year, I thought to myself, wow, this guy's really good because he's smart. He's really smart, but he's also really aggressive. That's a good combo. Offensive linemen that are really smart and really aggressive. Rick James's quick thought, Myles Garrett trade for just 1 first. I mean, you know what? Here's my thing, Rick. The Niners are no longer in that mode of one guy, Hargrave, one guy trade up for Trey Lance, one guy. No, they got to go
a lot of young players.
They got to go the other way. No, they're not one guy away. Myles Garrett could be awesome, but if you trade for Myles Garrett, guess what? You're probably going to give a 1, probably 2 lower picks, probably going to trade 3 picks for him. And he makes a ton of money, and you're going to be really hugged up on the cap. So it's just, and you still need 2 corners, a free safety, 2 linebackers, a couple defensive tackles, probably 3 O linemen, a couple tight ends, a receiver, another big back, couple, a kicker, a punt. They need a lot. So I don't think, I know Myles Garrett's intriguing. I know the idea of that one great player is always intriguing, but this isn't the year for that. This isn't the 1985 Niners looking for Jerry Rice. This is the 1986 Niners looking for their draft day bonanza. So to me, I think the plan should include trading back from 11 to the teens, or maybe the early 20s, and see if you can kill this thing with numbers. Fuji Simeon says, I know it's out of place, but Larry Roki not coming. Fuji, it's okay that it's out of place, but yes, Roki Sasaki's final 3 finalist for his services. This is the amazing pitcher from Japan who's just posted this year and is coming to the big leagues. It's down to Toronto, the Dodgers, and the Padres, which right there should tell the Giants everything they need to know. It's 2 teams in your division and a Canadian franchise. The guy, he's from Japan and supposedly wants to live in California and is considering the Dodgers and the Padres, but not you. I mean, think about that for a second, Giants. Think about that. Think about the Japanese population of San Francisco and how big it is and how incredibly popular this move would be for your franchise. And yet you can't make it. You can't get that made. You can't get that move made because nobody believes that you're any good. Why? Because your farm system is the lowest rated farm system in the game. And you haven't been good for a while. And you haven't competed with the Dodgers for a number of years. So, yeah, I mean, it's sad. Roki Sasaki should look at San Francisco and the Japanese population of Northern California and look at the Giants and be like, hell yes, I want to go there. Hell yes, get me there. But no, he's like San Diego, LA, or Toronto. So tells Giants fans really all you need to know about where you sit in the eyes of the best players on the globe. I mean, they're not clamoring to play here. Anthony Catania's in the house. He says, love being part of the Krug Show. Awesome, Anthony. We love having you as part of the Krug Show. Big fans of Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Big fans of the store, and we're really thrilled that Anthony is part of it. Fuji Simeon says, you going to Bruce Mahoney? I hate hearing friends sing SI and SH fight songs in prep for the big games tomorrow at Chase. P.S. I'm loving the white hoodie, Kev. I'm not going to the Bruce Mahoney game because I'll be doing Niners Nightly tomorrow night at 6:00 when that game is they'll probably be the layup lines and they'll be getting ready to tip that thing. But go Cats, get them Cats, go get them Cats. Hey, you, there's nothing you can do. I said you just can't stop that cat machine. There you go. There you go. And for those of you who are out there who are big SI Wildcats, we are SI. There you go.
All right. I met a girl in college. She's like, "Where'd you go to high school?" She's like, "SI." I'm like, "Isn't that an all boys school?" It changed.
That's so
right?
strange to even hear that.
Yeah.
So strange to even hear that. But yes, go Cats, get them Cats, go get them Cats. I feel confident. That SI will prevail. It's a hell of a school for athletic endeavors for sure. All right, Kev, we're at almost an hour and a half into the stream. We were going to go for 45. It's about right. We've doubled up. You got a final thought before we bolt for the door? Butthead says SI, Sports Illustrated. No, St. Ignatius. Go Cats, get them Cats. Go get them Cats. St. Ignatius Wildcats. Fuji Simeon says Wildcats, please. You mean stray cats. Oh, come on. What can I say? Fuji? Yeah. What's the old saying? You hate us because you ain't us. I think that's pretty much it. There you go. Too much says. Wait, too much dropped. SI isn't an all boys school anymore. LOL. It was when I was there. It was like a fraternity. Joe Schmo, SI and university had friends who went from the North Bay. University. Yeah, University High School. It's probably about $50,000 a year for high school, private high school in Pacific Heights. That's we took care of them pretty easily. They were not on our level. All right.
My final thought
yeah.
is anyone who is a fan of the Krug Show on the audio form, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Just drop us a review, give us 5 stars. It really helps us out.
Sounds good. That is going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor. Thanks to Anthony Catania and all the good people at Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles. Thanks to Better and all the good people at Better for sponsoring the Krug Show. That's going to do it for us. Kind of a good Monday, productive Monday. Tomorrow on the Krug Show, I believe Raj will be in the house. I'll be back on KMBR tomorrow night at 6 o'clock for another edition of Niners Nightly. We'll be doing some videos in the daytime that I'm sure you guys will be fans of. And so that's what we got going on tomorrow. So, and then Wednesday, Damon and I will stream at 9 a.m. Wednesday night, Paulie Mack will be in the house. Thursday night, Dieter will be in the house. And then Friday, Chase and Damon stop by on Fridays. Saturday morning, I believe John Lund is going to be with us. So we got a big week ahead. But that's going to do it for us. For Kev, I'm Larry. Have a great rest of your night. If you just tuned in, Warriors lost and the Rams took down the Vikings 27-9. Bye-bye Sam Darnold for the year, and he probably will be leaving Minnesota. It'll be interesting to see. Will Minnesota go with J.J. McCarthy and let Sam Darnold walk? And if he walks, where does he walk to? Does he walk to the Raiders? Does he go to the New York Giants? It'll be interesting to see what kind of market Sam Darnold has. Kev was right. On one hand, he had a great regular season, right? I mean, he really kind of saved his entire career. And then the old Sam Darnold showed up in the playoffs when money's on the table. And, we'll just have to see how the rest of the teams and general managers in the NFL view his regular season, his postseason, and his future. So anyway, that's going to do it for us. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.